The question hit me harder than the winter wind slamming into my chest as I stood at the edge of my porch, keys frozen between my fingers. My neighbor had leaned over the fence with a casual smile and asked, "Why are you still single?" It was said lightly, almost kindly, but something inside me cracked so loudly I swear the whole street could hear it. I didn't answer right away. I couldn't. Because the truth I carried wasn't small or simple, it was heavy, sharp, and full of memories I'd spent years trying to bury. And when I finally answered her, it didn't just break her. It broke me all over again. Before we go any further, if you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the quiet battles people fight every day without saying a word, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who might need it, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps stories like this alive, and sometimes, stories are the only thing that keeps people going. I had lived in that neighborhood for almost 6 years, long enough for the houses to feel familiar but not long enough to feel like I truly belonged. It was one of those streets where life seemed to move forward neatly, kids riding bikes, couples walking dogs, weekend barbecues filled with laughter that floated easily through open windows. I was the quiet one at the end of the block, the man who waved politely but never lingered, the one people described as nice, in a vague, distant way. I worked, I came home, I paid my bills, and I kept my life small. People assumed I was shy or picky or too focused on my career. The truth was far more complicated, and far more painful. The neighbor who asked me that question was new, moved in only a few months earlier. She had an open face and a warmth that made people talk without realizing they were doing it. She smiled with her whole presence, the kind of person who asked how you were and actually waited for the answer. Over time, she'd noticed my routines, how I left early every morning, how my lights stayed off most evenings, how there was never anyone else walking beside me. Her question wasn't meant to wound. It came from curiosity, maybe even concern. But curiosity can still cut deep when it brushes against old scars. My answer didn't come right away. When it did, it wasn't dramatic or loud. It was quiet, almost tired. I told her I wasn't single because I hadn't met the right person. I wasn't single because I was afraid of commitment or too busy chasing success. I was single because the person I loved most had taught me what forever felt like, and then forever had ended without my permission. As the words left my mouth, I felt years of carefully controlled pain begin to rise, like water breaking through a dam I'd spent so long building. Years earlier, my life had looked very different. I had been engaged, deeply and undeniably in love. We'd met young, built dreams out of nothing, and believed with an almost naive certainty that love was enough to protect us from everything. She had laughter that filled rooms and a way of listening that made you feel like the most important person alive. We talked about the future the way people do when they truly believe it's guaranteed: kids, a house with a porch, growing old together. I didn't just love her, I trusted the world because she was in it. Then illness arrived, quietly at first, like an unwelcome guest who refused to leave. Appointments turned into hospital stays. Hope became something fragile we handled carefully, afraid it might shatter. I stayed. I learned how to be strong in ways I never imagined, how to hold someone's hand while pretending not to be terrified of what tomorrow might bring. When she was gone, the world didn't end the way I expected. It kept moving. People went to work. The sun still rose. And that somehow hurt even more. After the funeral, everyone told me time would heal me. They meant well, but time didn't heal anything. It taught me how to function while carrying the weight. It taught me how to smile at the right moments, how to say I was fine without lying too obviously. What it didn't teach me was how to love again. Because love, to me, was no longer a risk worth taking lightly. I had given everything once, and the cost of losing it had almost destroyed me. So I built a life that looked stable from the outside but felt empty on the inside. I avoided places where couples gathered. I declined invitations that might lead to awkward questions. I told myself I was content, that solitude was a choice, not a consequence. Some days, I even believed it. Other days, the silence in my house felt so loud it pressed against my chest until I could barely breathe. When my neighbor heard my answer, her expression changed in a way I hadn't expected. The casual curiosity vanished, replaced by something heavier, understanding, regret, and a quiet sadness. She didn't know what to say, and neither did I. We stood there for a moment longer, the space between us filled with everything that hadn't been spoken. Then she apologized softly, not because she'd done something wrong, but because she now saw the pain behind my distance. After that day, something shifted. Not all at once, and not in some dramatic, movie-like way. But slowly, gently, like the first sign of spring after a long winter. My neighbor started waving a little longer, asking how my day was and actually listening. Sometimes she brought over extra food she'd cooked, claiming she'd made too much. Sometimes we'd stand by the fence and talk about nothing important at all. She didn't try to fix me. She didn't push. She simply showed up, consistently and kindly. And that consistency began to do something I hadn't allowed myself to hope for. It reminded me that connection didn't always lead to loss. That caring for someone didn't automatically mean reliving the worst pain of my life. I still struggled. Nights were still hard. Memories still surfaced without warning. But now, there was also laughter again, small moments of warmth that felt almost dangerous in their sweetness. I realized one evening, as we talked under a sky turning orange with sunset, that my heart wasn't as closed as I thought. It was bruised, yes. Cautious. Afraid. But not broken beyond repair. The fear I'd been living with, the fear of loving and losing again, was real, but so was the fear of never loving at all. And slowly, I began to understand that avoiding pain had also meant avoiding life. The biggest challenge wasn't opening up to someone else. It was forgiving myself for surviving. For still being here. For feeling moments of happiness without guilt. I had spent so long believing that moving forward meant leaving her behind, and that felt like a betrayal. What I eventually learned was that carrying her memory didn't mean I had to stop living. Love doesn't vanish just because life changes shape. Months passed, and while my story didn't turn into a fairy tale, it did turn into something real. I started saying yes to invitations again. I started allowing conversations to go deeper instead of steering them away. I didn't rush into anything, and I didn't pretend to be healed. I was honest about where I'd been and what I carried. And for the first time in years, that honesty felt lighter than the silence I'd been hiding behind. Near the end of that year, my neighbor thanked me for answering her question the way I did. She said it had changed the way she saw people, the way she asked questions, the way she assumed things about others' lives. I told her she hadn't broken me. She'd simply seen me. And sometimes, being seen is the beginning of healing. If this story is touching your heart right now, if it reminds you of someone you've lost or a part of yourself you've been protecting for too long, please take a moment to like this video, share it, and leave a comment. Your engagement doesn't just support the channel, it lets others know they're not alone in feeling this way. Life doesn't always reward us with neat endings or clear explanations. Sometimes it leaves us with scars and questions and a quiet ache that never fully disappears. But it also gives us unexpected moments, kind neighbors, honest conversations, second chances we never thought we deserved. Being single isn't always about what's missing. Sometimes it's about what we've loved so deeply that it changed us forever. Before this video ends, I have one small, heartfelt request. Please comment below and share what this story made you feel, or simply write the word, kindness, if you believe compassion can change lives. You never know who might read your words at exactly the moment they need them most. Because behind every simple question is a story we can't see. And behind every quiet answer is a heart that has survived more than it ever should have had to.